Australia's first National Anti-Corruption Commission, headed by former Judge Paul Brereton, began operating in 2023.
Our work will involve not only the detection and investigation of corrupt conduct, but also its prevention.
But its first 3 years have been tumultuous.
This is why you're in this mess. Maybe lift your standards to meet the highest possible standard and avoid any possibility of conflict. Don't you think that's what you should do, heading the nation's anti-corruption body?
I did avoid conflicts by managing them in accordance with what is documented in the last paragraph of this letter.
The Commissioner quitting last month amid a public backlash over the Commission's operations.
I have become a distraction.
Do you accept any responsibility for that?
I think everyone contributes to their own downfall, if you like, in some ways, and I'm sure I have contributed to this in some ways.
Victorian Independent MP Helen Haines was instrumental in pushing the federal government to set up the Commission.
People of Australia wanted it. They wanted to see sunlight shone into those dark places.
She says Paul Brereton's departure clears the way for the government to overhaul the Commission.
I think that it has been a great shame that the National Anti-Corruption Commission thus far has been defined by its inaugural commissioner rather than the work that it's achieved.
Before taking the helm at the Commission, Paul Brereton headed the inquiry into alleged war crimes in Afghanistan as Assistant Inspector General of the Defence Force. But his ties to Defence while serving as Commissioner became the so-called distraction he spoke about.
Mr Brereton's association with Defence really created a significant problem for him and for the Commission in terms of his capacity to separate any perceptions of conflict of interest from his role as Commissioner.
In late 2024, the Commission's Oversight Inspector, Gail Finesse, found Paul Brereton had engaged in officer misconduct in the handling of a referral from the Robo-Debt Royal Commission. The Royal Commission had referred 6 people to the anti-corruption body, but it initially chose not to investigate them. It turned out Paul Brereton had a close association with one of them, which he'd declared. While he delegated the decision on whether to investigate the 6 people to a deputy, the inspector found he should have removed himself altogether.
Under the statute, that amounted to officer misconduct. That's not a criminal finding or a finding of corruption. It's a legal term, officer misconduct, and it related to that failure to manage that conflict of interest.
In a heated Senate estimates last month, Paul Brereton told the committee that in the Robo-Debt referral,
I accept that with the benefit of hindsight, it would have been better not to have anything to do with that matter.
The inspector is now heading another 2 investigations into Paul Brereton's conduct, including one concerning his work with the Inspector General of the ADF.
The complaint relates to the potential conflict of interest of him maintaining a consultancy, an advisory role with the Inspector General of the Australian Defence Force, and it also relates to whether he properly disclosed that.
Paul Brereton has denied engaging in any wrongdoing in his role as Commissioner.
Were always going to be conflicts that had to be managed. This wasn't something that I've now realised. It was realised from day one, and they were managed by me stepping aside from matters in which persons who I knew through Defence had an interest.
Another common criticism of the NAC is that it's been too secretive. You probably haven't heard of its work because it hasn't held any public hearings. It has the power to do so under so-called exceptional circumstances, but so far it's decided not to.
The threshold of exceptional circumstances combined with public interest is a high one. It's higher than, for example, the threshold in New South Wales, which is just a public interest test.
In New South Wales, the downfall of premiers and ministers has been a public spectacle for all to see in the Independent Commission Against Corruption, the ICAC. It frequently holds public hearings with legislated safeguards.
ICAC New South Wales is a very effective anti-corruption commission. If the NAC does not have the requisite power and then conduct public inquiries as appropriate, I think people will lose trust and confidence in the body as being effective.
Peter Hall was Chief Commissioner of the ICAC from 2017 to 2022. He says the exceptional circumstances clause governing the national body is too restrictive.
It would be interesting to know how this highly restrictive provision came to be. Why not use the ICAC model when the ICAC model has worked? It has been effective. People like what ICAC does. It may be, as I say, there's been some fear, over fear, that if you don't tone it down and restrict it, reputation is somehow more vulnerable.
As the government moves to appoint a new commissioner, Helen Haines says she's willing to try and force the commission into holding public hearings through the parliament.
Well, if the government don't come to the table soon on this, then yes, I'm very, very happy to put forward a private member's bill, and I would be willing to do that this year if we don't get movement on this issue.